So KULR stock spiked 17% today, but is this a real deal or is it just a quick pop before potentially the fade? KULR stock is a technology group that has been making waves in advanced thermal management solutions as well as EVs, batteries, and especially in space tech, which we'll get into. With growing demand in these sectors, I think this could mean something. It could be the start of something bigger for the company. But let's check the volume and follow through and see if it's the real story here. Is this something that's really good to look at, or is it just maybe a fake shift in momentum? Now, we're trading live every day inside StockMates. If you want to watch me trade live, it's the second link in the description. We were watching KULR stock. Basically, we called it out when it was up about 10%. There's a couple of reasons why. Let's take a look here. Let's take a look at technicals. We go through three-part analysis whenever we're identifying a deal in the stock market. The first thing that we look at is the market. This company is in the space tech market, which is growing very fast, specifically in the battery tech market, which is excellent for things like satellites, for example. So companies that launch satellites like Rocket Lab, or you could look at ASTS, or take a look at SpaceX. Those companies need the battery power and semiconductors, which is AMD, that's another story, to power their satellites. Now, KULR stock has some missions with SpaceX in 2026, and they have partnerships with NASA as well. So let's take a look. I had some previous charts mapped out. We covered it earlier this week, and this was a previous resistance at $1.50 that it established back in December. We started covering it in November, saw it push up to $5.60 on a run before selling off. It's been below that 200-day moving average. It's been holding below, got rejected, and then got rejected again, and it was selling off, and it got back to these previous support and resistance levels, and we kind of mapped it out and said, hey, it's consolidating here, it's consolidating here. What if we see it break up above this level? Well, not only did it break up above the 200-day moving average, but it also is holding above this EMA, that blue line. So that indicates bullish momentum. In a bearish market, that blue line, that EMA will act as a resistance, and that SMA will as well. But you can see it's crossed over both. It's looking more bullish, and it broke up above this previous resistance level. Once it did that, not only did it break up above at the beginning of basically, or after hours. So after hours yesterday, it broke up to $1.70, but then it came back down and validated this resistance as a support and then soared today 20%. So we called it out early this morning, right at market open. We were between KULR stock and we were between Rigetti stock. And the other one that we were looking at was CTM, looking for a recovery there, which it did recover about 7% so far. And what you can see is this breakout is now into new territory, and it's making its run up to this previous support and resistance. So previous resistance right here oftentimes will act as support. You can see it did right there, and right here, and right here. And so now it's entering that level at $1.91, so basically $2, and it could potentially get rejected in this level. But this is the run that it's making. It's essentially making this run from, it started down here, it surged 75%. It's trying to recover to this level here in this $1.90 range. So that would be another 20% swing or 25% swing. And here's the deal. We did some analysis on the Fibonacci, and how you do the Fibonacci. We'll get into, the market, we'll get into the news, and I want to cover that so you guys could see their financials as well. And then we'll end with the third part of our analysis, which is the profit plan. But take a look at this. When you use Fibonacci, oftentimes, there are key levels that notoriously react better in favor of Fibonacci. That's why it exists as an indicator. We don't rely solely on it, obviously, but when you look at Fibonacci, you go from the top, the previous big high, and you go down, and you go down, and then you go to the nearest to where we are now, the biggest low between that high and where we are. So the biggest low was right here at $1. So basically we take this dollar range right here. So we're at $1 right here, and we stretch it to previous highs. So previous highs, I think if we're looking at, let's say up here in this level, that would be, I mean, if we're going to total previous highs, it would be up here in this $5 range, okay? And the $5 range essentially says it's a little overextended. It needs to build a lot more momentum and break up into this $2.55 for it to really see a great chance at recovery to previous highs. So not so likely that we're going to see this thing shoot straight up into previous highs. It's possible, of course, but what's more likely to happen is going to be a little more gradual. And I think the next target we're looking for really is this level around $3 a share, because this level right here is where it's going to run to most likely if it breaks this level down at $2 a share. So if we get into that level, you can see what that looks like on Fibonacci. So if we're anticipating that swing, it's basically saying it's in the golden ratio right now. And this is kind of the buy range for if you're trying to ride it to that $2 range up here. And I could see that happening. But again, watch closely as it does look a little overextended. And if you're going to ride this, make sure you have a plan in place for where you plan to sell. In this case, I'd be looking to sell around $2, and where you plan to cut losses if it doesn't go according to plan. In this case, I mean, I wouldn't want to see this thing break below this $1.60 range, or else we could see it drop to these previous levels. So holding above this $1.60 range is great. And to see a full recovery, that's kind of how we're looking there. But the news on KULR stock, if you take a look at their company, you'll see that they announced a new private U.S. space company partnership, and their NASA certified battery cells are now going to be powering this space company, for which they do not mention the name of. They say that it's a private company. They aren't disclosing which company it is. It says having a leading private space company select our M35A cells is a strong endorsement of their performance and practicality. Now, that being said, we don't know. It could be Lockheed Martin. They're already in Lockheed Martin, but Lockheed Martin isn't private, so it couldn't be Lockheed Martin. Could be Rocket Lab? Nope, because it's private. What U.S. space companies are leading and are private? I would say you have I don't know. I don't even think Blue Origin is they're not a stock, right? They don't have a stock for Blue Origin, do they? Yeah, they don't. They have no public. So it could be either Blue Origin or, in my eyes, it's SpaceX. Now, we know they have the rideshare mission with SpaceX. If you take a look at their company and some of the news, we know that they have partnerships with NASA, Lockheed Martin, Department of Transportation, Federal Aviation. These are not small contracts. And essentially, their batteries allow you to, based on the news we've seen and why companies partner with KULR stock or KULR technology, is because their batteries can withstand extreme temperatures. And in space, that's so crucial. So they're made of this special proprietary thermal resistant carbon composite, their batteries. And they work with batteries down to a cellular level. So they're doing it. You can check out their where they are in their company kind of mission. They're over in Texas. They recently moved, and they're just neighbors to a lot of space companies, including Lockheed Martin. So they're right in it right now. And aside from that, they have their technology that they got partnerships with Navy. KULR Vibes got partnerships with Apache. So they have this software that basically reduces vibrations from aircrafts and different structures that might face more, let's say, maintenance costs or shut down or break as a result of too much vibrations. And they have this AI software, KULR Vibe, that they partnered with military to basically make it, for example, the Apache helicopter have less vibrations, or the Black Hawk helicopter. You also see U.S. Marine Corps there as well. So why are we looking at KULR stock from a conservative perspective? Because it seems like everything they have in place in this new potential partnership, why is it conservative? We could see, look at those highs of $5.60. wouldn't it make sense we'd see it get back up here and a 250% increase could happen? It does make sense when you look at it just from those lenses. But one thing to note, when you look at KULR stock financials, the financials have been okay. The revenue's at 3.2 million a quarter, 2.4 million, 1.75 million, and we await some more income statements. They beat their revenue and their earnings per share. It's in the green and up year over year, but it's, negative 2 million net income. You're buying what could be, because when you look at their market cap, they're at 416 million. I mean, it's still kind of, I would say, for the type of revenue they have, it's not, it's seems a little bit overvalued, but people are buying based on the partnerships. They're based on the potential revenue we could see increase in the near future, and the growing government and military contracts could fuel their long-term growth. Now, the recent partnerships that we've seen are key factors that we're going to watch. And I think if we see 1 quarter of increased revenue here, that's a big deal. The other reason why their stock has sold off, aside from a little bit of a market correction, is that they purchased 90% of their surplus cash. You should know this. 90% of their surplus cash goes into Bitcoin. It's a risky move. I like the move, but it's a risky move. And you could talk, or at least hear from the CEO, and the CEO says he met with Michael Saylor from MicroStrategy and decided to allocate 90% of their Bitcoin, 90% of their cash, to Bitcoin. And they have an average purchase price of basically around $98,500 or $99,000 per Bitcoin on a $60 million acquisition of Bitcoin. So they got $60 million, average price $98,000. That's not too hot, because basically Bitcoin, if you take a look, it's at $83,000. So it's recently sold off. Overall trend looks good for Bitcoin, especially seeing it bounce at the 200-day moving average there. Why is that an important thing? That bounce at the 200-day moving average could see a recovery up into 100,000, and if it does recover very quickly, maybe 125,000. But again, if they had a 98,000, they're down about 15% on that 60 million. That's about $9 million down on their position. So that's one thing holding their stock down, is that Bitcoin sell-off. You could see it slightly kind of indicate, or slightly correlate to their stock, not completely, but slightly, because obviously there's other investor sentiments. It's not just people buy because they are invested in Bitcoin or anything like that. But this recovery could be huge. If we see a recovery in Bitcoin or even greater, they're going to see a massive upside. And I would imagine we're going to see a recovery in Bitcoin. So it's kind of a win situation, like not if, more like when will it happen with Bitcoin. And so when we look at KULR stock and where it is, this surge and this recovery, I don't think this is just a pump and we see KULR stock sell off. I think the partnerships they have, the foothold they have in the battery tech of space, puts them in a unique position to capitalize on the space tech boom, as well as take advantage of some of those partnerships. That SpaceX rideshare mission is huge. I think that if this private company is SpaceX and that comes out, that's going to be huge. I mean, since that announcement, they've soared about 35% and 70% over the last week. So a recovery to previous highs would be $2.50, just a little bit overextended on the obviously in this push up, that we could see a sell back down to this level of $1.50 before continuing up. I could see that happen, possibly a little bit of rejection there, but overall we'll be having a close eye on KULR, and most likely we'll continue to trade it at market open. And if you guys want to see us trade live, we've been trading KULR on and off since November. We've had some really profitable days, more profitable than not, in KULR stock. So if you want to watch me trade live every day at market open, it's the second link in the description. That's StockMe. You could surround yourself with other traders and investors. Hopefully I earned your thumbs up. Hit that like button if I earned it, and do consider subscribing. The other thing is, guys, the thing about KULR stock, or thinking about, let's say, investing and watching it on the near term, When it comes to our live sessions that we go live in each morning, we have targets and we're watching the dips, because when it's bullish, it dips at market open and then it recovers the rest of the day most of the time. And so those are the types of moves that we want to watch for. One thing to note, if you guys are in StockMate, you see the different earnings calls that we come out with, and we kind of outline the different companies for the week in here and our targets for all of the companies. We're also fully conservative. I was just talking with our group today where we were looking at our exciting earnings that we come out with and how we came out with these conservative price targets. I think we had some cautionary price targets here where we basically said KULR stock's probably going to sell down. It was at $5 a share, and we're saying it's going to go down to $4 or more. And this was when it was up here, around this five. I mean, look, it wasn't long that it was at $5 a share, and it was up here. And I said, I think it's going to go down. It's really overextended. So we're not just bullish. We have to approach these. There's obviously cycles to this. We're looking at potential recovery here with KULR, and that's what looks good. And so the reason I include that is, it's important for you guys to know that we're not just like, here's everything that you need to buy and get in. Even like Tesla, we had some targets for Tesla. It was at $4 or $426. And I was saying this week it's going to go down to $320. I hate to say that because I love the tech that they have. And I have friends that work at Tesla, and I have friends that work at Rocket Lab, but we, we got to have the price targets accurate, right? And it wasn't long with Tesla that it was at that 400. I mean, let's see, how long was it at that $426 price range? It was somewhere in here that we called it out in January, 426. It wasn't long, right in here or right in here, and it's sold down. Now it's at 234. That sell-off has continued. So the reason I say that is because it's important to not approach everything with, total bullishness, especially in these markets. Approach it with some caution, but have a plan going in. That really helps. That comes down to this philosophy. You get this free book inside of StockMate, along with a free t-shirt that we have designed. If you ever want a free t-shirt for StockMate, we got our StockMate apparel. I think that I can probably find it. You get one of these free t-shirts, cashtoassets.com/StockMate. You can see, but we have this new apparel, one of these t-shirts, beautiful cotton t-shirt. You get it for free. And I wear this t-shirt all the time. It's really comfortable. And we just recently launched it. When you get into lifetime access, you get it for free. You also get this book. And I just want to share this with you guys. Some of you guys are in StockMate and you don't even know you have this. But and a lot of people said, oh, Will, I didn't even know that. Thanks for sharing it. But basically, why you are reading this book, why would you read it? Well, it goes into the mindset of a trader, the mindset of an ordinary, the mindset of understanding cash flows, emotional IQ, how to have a plan, ordinary versus profitable, mindsets. All those things are important when in the markets, especially when the markets are in a volatile moment, right now. Having a plan and knowing what example of a trading plan looks like, what thoughts you can have as an ordinary, like saving money or working more hours is the goal, or the profitable or lucky versus percentage growth, making money work for me. The profitable are diligent, and learning to profit is part of the process. All of this and emotional IQ and everything else is covered. So if you ever want to, dive in and really take your learning and watch us trade live every morning, take it to the next level, it's that second link in the description, or you can go to cashtoassets.com. And also, if you just want to get up early, 6:30 a.m. Pacific time, it's not always easy, but if you're on the East Coast, it's pretty easy. But I'd love to see you guys there. Thank you guys again for watching. See you in the next video. Take care.